If you're a guitar player who's been struggling to learn your pentatonics, you've been looking at the cage system or trying to learn through shapes, but it's still just not clicking for you and you don't have the freedom that you want, I'm going to show you a really easy way to learn this that's not only going to help you unlock the fretboard, it's going to really help you connect emotionally with what you play. This is a very logical system and it's going to take me a little bit to explain, but I think you'll really like it. So with that out of the way, let's hop right in. So first off, where does the pentatonic scale actually come from? Well, if we take a major scale, let's say, A, and we assign numbers to each of these notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, the pentatonic scale is going to be derived from 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, and 1. And it doesn't matter what note you play it on. So, I could start on F sharp, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you can always start with 1 no matter what note you're on. So already, instead of having to think about notes, we can think about numbers, which is completely separate from the notes, which is a big benefit to this system I'm going to show you. And again, it doesn't matter where you play them. I could start right here. 1, flat 3, 4, 5, 7, 1. 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1. And you can really just think of this as 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, 1. And what's really cool about saying it that way is it's quick syllables, right? So one of the things, the little hitches that you might run into when trying to learn this is, someone says, let's play in G flat, pentatonic minor. So now you got to think, okay, G flat, B double flat, C flat, B flat, F flat, G flat. And then, let's do, F. Okay, so F, A flat, B flat, C, E flat, F. And so you've got to load all of these notes in your head, and then you've got to impose them onto the fretboard. Now, this is the same kind of issue that you run into with the cage system. It's what I call a translation layer. It's where you have to think about something else before you actually arrive on what your, destination output is. So in this case, if you're not familiar with the cage system, it's really weird in my opinion because it's all based on these open chords. So C, A, open G, E, and D. Now what's weird about that, there's a couple things that are weird. The first thing that's weird is that all those are based on, like I said, open chords. And if you're ever doing a cover or something, you'll probably tend to want to avoid using those open chords because those open strings have a particular timbre to them. It's a little brighter, a little tangier than any sort of fretted note. And so what I find myself having to do is when I'm trying to think about that, then I'm having to think of, oh, it's C, and then it's this note, and then it's this note output. So there's like 2 or 3 things you have to think about. The other thing that's weird to me about the cage system is it doesn't necessarily start on whatever finger that you're actually going to play those notes from. Number 3, the cage system in the order that it's set up in is set up as the major pentatonics first. So really, if you were to play the minor pentatonic inversions, they would really start with G, E, D, C, and then A. So Gedka would be your system for the minor pentatonics, which you're probably going to end up using a little more often. And really, just as a quick side note, when I think about major and minor chords, I tend to think about them in just these, I call them movable major, movable minor. I think about them in these positions. It's a 4 string, and then here's the 6 string. Doesn't matter where I move it. And so this is a much more agnostic way to think about it than the cage system. So if you've been having problems with the cage system, I had the same problem. So with that out of the way, let's talk about why you might also have trouble with shapes. Now, shapes are good, they're useful, but the thing that shapes lack is connecting you with what all of the intervals in this particular scale mean. So, I'm just going to play an A right here. I'm going to kind of do some little jams on some different intervals. So if you think about our first interval in the pentatonic scale, it's a minor third. It's kind of got a sad sound, but it's also kind of got that, it's kind of hanging out. It's kind of that's where you've got that turn. And that adds that kind of bluesy sound. Our next interval is from 1 to 4. And so that's kind of got that grounded kind of sound, but it's also where we've got that flat 5, sharp 4 kind of thing that adds that, kind of a extra bluesy element on these scales. Then we've got the 5, and you can think of the 5 a lot of times in music, whether it's classical music or it's pop music, a lot of times it's a journey from the 5 chord to the 1 chord, or from the number 5. From 5 to 1. And so I think of 5 as the maximum point of tension relative to our 1. And then we've got 7, and 7 is kind of, I think of it like it's the hanging out interval. I think I've said hanging out a lot, but make up your own little mental models for how to think about how these intervals sound. So all of these intervals have a unique sound that's associated with them, and when you're using shapes, you're not really going to learn that. So now let's talk about how I actually go through these. So I go through these all by numbers. And like I said earlier, it's because the numbers completely separates you from having to think about the notes. And when you're thinking about the sounds between these intervals, you're going to be able to think, what emotional result do I want? I want to go from 5 to 1. I want to go from 1 to 7. Or I want to go from 3 to 5. How does that sound in my head? And then you can easily execute it on the fingerboard because you're going to have a familiarity with where these shapes are. So I'm going to give you the overview, and then we'll go through the exercises. So the overview is that we're going to play down the scales first, because most people get really good at playing up the scales and they have trouble playing down the scales. So we're going to go down first to make sure that you get it. And as we do this is the most important part of this, is we're going to make sure that we say the numbers, the interval number of the note that we're playing. And then we're going to do this from down to up in all the positions. And then your last thing is to go have fun. Go put on a backing track and try to play along with it. Now, the last thing that I want to point out before I demo these exercises for you is that when you're playing through these, I really want you to use your ear, because your ear is going to tell you where to play next. And using shapes is helpful, but it's kind of the second layer of this. It's the less important layer. The more important layer is realizing that in the pentatonic scale, we only have 2 intervals. And those 2 intervals are the major second, or a whole step, and a minor third. So, minor third is going to be here. Whole step between 3 and 4. Between 4 and 5 is a whole step. Between 5 and 7 is a minor third. 7 and 1 is a whole step. So the implication of that is that when you're going through these, you can very logically deduce which note is going to be next. So if I just don't look at the fretboard and I slide down, and let's say that this is my 3rd note in my scale. Okay, so 3, what's after 3? 3 is 4, and those numbers are right next to each other, and that means that it's going to be a whole step. So 3, 4. Between 4 and 5 is also a whole step. Between 5 and 7, it's going to be our minor third interval. And already I know what shape I'm on. I had to cross from the G to the B string there, but you're going to realize as you go through these patterns and you're engaging in this kind of thought that these patterns are very logical, and they're not just random shapes that you have to memorize and random sounds. There is an order to them. So with all that out of the way, let me demo how I go through these and what has really helped to unlock the fretboard for me. So again, we're going to start from the top, and I'm going to say the number as I'm playing down. So, and again, big tip here is if you're really having trouble getting away from thinking about notes, is don't look at the guitar and just slide up to wherever you're going to play. And we're going to start in our first position. So 3, 1, 7. This is going to be major 6, minor 6. So it has to be this reach. And then from 5 to 4 is a whole step. 4 to 3, whole step. 3 to 1 is going to be minor third. So going through this, we're going to say 3, 1, 7, 5, 4, 3, 1, 7, 5, 4, 3, 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, 1, 3. Next position. 1, 7, 5, 4, 3, 1, 7, 5, 4, 3, 1, 7, 1, 3, 1. Sev, 1, 3, 4, 5, Sev, 1, 3, 4, 5, Sev, 1. Next position. We're on 5. Sorry, we're on, I said. Yeah, Sev, 5, 4, 3, 1, Sev, 5, 4, 3, 1, Sev, 5, Sev, 1, 3, 4, 5, Sev, 1, 3, 4, 5, Sev. And next position is going to be 5, 4, 3, 1. 1, Sev. We got to skip. 5, 4, 3, 1, Sev, 5, 4, 3, 1, Sev, 1. And this is something you're going to run into is as you're doing this exercise, you might goof one of the numbers. And make sure that if you do goof one of the numbers, that you go back and you repeat at least that little piece of the scale so that you can say the correct numbers. Because if you're not saying the correct numbers, you're not going to build the right interval and tonal associations in your head that's going to make it so that you can think about what kind of sounds you want when you're improvising and then go and execute on them easily. So now let's demo from low to high. So I'm just going to, again, not look at the guitar. I'm going to slide down to wherever we're on this note. So let's say 1, 3, 4, 5, Sev, 1, 3, 4, 5, Sev, 1, 3, 3, 1, Sev, 5, 4, 3, 1, Sev, 5, 4, 3, 1. Next position, 3, 4, 5, Sev, 1, 3, 4, 5, Sev, 1, 3, 4, 4, 3, 1, Sev, 5, 4, 3, 3, 3, 1, Sev, 5, 4, 3, 1, 3, 4, 5, Sev, 1, Sev. And then another thing you can do is try to go between the intervals. So, 3, 5, 4, Sev, 5, 1, Sev, 3, 1, 4, 3, 5, Sev. So we're getting familiar with the numbers. But if you just play down and then you play up, you're going to be doing great. Now, the next part of this is to go play with a backing track. But I want to give you one really big tip that one of the teachers I work with here in the local area gave me, and it's been a really big breakthrough. And with a singer, they're probably never going to sing this kind of interval or do this kind of thing. They're not going to be jumping between a seventh, right? With a singer, it's going to be a lot more fluid. It's going to be a lot more single string kind of stuff. So you can take the G or the B string, find a backing track, whatever key it is, and you can just slide around on a single string. And as a guitar player, you find, I need to kind of borrow that note from that other string, and that's great. But stick to a single string. So let's pretend we're in a G minor pentatonic, right? Borrowing from the other string. And then whenever you get to one of these positions, then you can challenge yourself and you can go, I'm on B flat. What position am I in? What notes can I play here? And then you can go back to the single string thing. And that is how I approach pentatonics. And it's been really helpful for me because, again, it dissociates you from having to think about one note name and one sort of position and then start on a different finger, or you have to, think about G flat, B double flat, C flat, D flat, F flat, G flat. It's a really weird way to think about things. So I strongly recommend you go through this with numbers and use your ear to figure this out and start going through these inversions. And I promise you, when you go and you play along with a backing track, you're going to just start to reach for that next note going up. You're like, I need that next note, or I need this note that's across string. It's going to happen very naturally when you go through this with numbers. So if this helped you, I would really appreciate if you hit the subscribe and like button. It really helps me out big time. Share this with a friend if they are struggling with their pentatonics, out of love, of course. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.